Let's be honest, you are frustrated. You look around at your life, your career, your bank account, your relationships, and the math just doesn't add up. You know you are intelligent. You've always been the sharpest one in the room. You ace the tests. You grasp complex concepts faster than anyone else. And you have a processing speed that makes others look like they are moving in slow motion. And yet, you are stuck. You are watching people you secretly consider to be less capable, less nuanced, and frankly, less intelligent than you. Zooming past you, they are getting the promotion. They are launching the businesses. They are building the lives you feel you deserve. It burns, doesn't it? It feels like the world is broken or the system is rigged against competence. But I need you to listen to me very carefully because what I'm about to say will hurt. But it is the only thing that will save you. The problem isn't the system. The problem isn't them. The problem is you specifically. The problem is your intelligence. Your high IQ has become a prison. You are suffering from a specific strain of cognitive failure that disproportionately affects smart people. You are drowning in the Dunning-Kruger effect, but not in the way you think. We usually tell this story to laugh at stupid people. We quote the famous 1999 study by David Dunning and Justin Kruger. We laugh at the story of MacArthur Wheeler, the man who robbed two banks in broad daylight with no mask, covering his face in lemon juice because he believed lemon juice worked as invisible ink. We laugh at his confidence. We laugh at his stupidity. We tell ourselves, I'm not him, I know what I'm doing. But here is the terrifying truth. You are MacArthur Wheeler. You just have a better vocabulary. You have covered yourself in the lemon juice of your own past academic success. And you are walking into the bank of life expecting to win, completely blind to how exposed you actually are. This is the paradox of potential. This is why smart people fail. Let's strip this down to the neuroscience. Let's look at the mechanism of your stagnation. The Dunning-Kruger effect is defined as a cognitive bias, where people with low ability at a task overestimate their ability. But that is the Wikipedia definition. The psychological reality is deeper. It is a failure of metacognition. Metacognition is your ability to think about your own thinking. It is the ability to step outside yourself and view your performance objectively. Here is where the smart person trap snaps shut. Because you are intelligent, because you have high pattern recognition, you are used to being right. Throughout your entire childhood and education, your intuition was rewarded. You didn't have to study as hard as the other kids. You skimmed the book and got an A. You improvised the presentation and got applause. You learned to trust your raw processing power over the discipline of preparation. You built a subconscious identity that equates effortless understanding with mastery. This creates a dangerous feedback loop. When you approach a new field, whether it's day trading, coding, management, or a new relationship, you learn the jargon quickly. You grasp the basic mechanics in days. You climb what we call Mount Stupid at record speed. You look down from that little hill and think, I've got this. This is easy. That is the moment you lose. That is the moment your growth stops. Because you mistake familiarity for competence. You mistake the ability to talk about a subject for the ability to execute within it. In the Dunning-Kruger framework, the tragedy isn't the novice who thinks they are an expert. The tragedy is the intermediate who refuses to become a master because they think they already are one. You are stopping at the peak of Mount Stupid because your ego cannot handle the next phase, the valley of despair. Real mastery, the kind that builds empires and changes lives, requires you to realize how much you do not know. It requires the painful realization that your initial success was luck or surface-level talent. When you actually dive deep into a complex domain, things get messy. Rules have exceptions. Theories fail in practice. This is the valley of despair. It is where you feel incompetent. It is where you feel slow. For someone who has built their entire self-worth on being the smart one, feeling slow feels like dying. So what do? You retreat. You quit. You pivot. You say, this isn't for me, or my boss doesn't get my vision, or the market is irrational. You protect your ego by abandoning the path of mastery before it can expose your ignorance. You become a jack of all trades, master of none, armed with witty critiques of everyone else's work, but with no body of work of your own. Let's go deeper into the psychology of this. Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck calls this the fixed mindset. But for you, it's more insidious. It's the gifted child syndrome. If you were praised for being smart rather than for working hard, you became risk-averse. Every challenge became a test of your status. If you try hard and fail, it proves you aren't smart, so you don't try hard. You coast, you rely on talent. But the real world, the brutal, hyper-competitive economy of the United States does not care about your potential. It does not care about your IQ score. It cares about output. It cares about grit. It cares about the ability to eat glass and stare into the abyss and keep moving forward when the answers aren't in the back of the textbook, while you are analyzing the optimal strategy. Someone with half your IQ is brute forcing their way to success through failure after failure. They are learning by doing. They are getting feedback from reality. While you are getting feedback from your own ego, they are in the arena, getting their face marred by dust and sweat and blood. As Teddy Roosevelt said, while you sit in the stands, critiquing their forms, you are over-intellectualizing your own inaction. You use your intelligence to construct elaborate excuses for why you haven't started or why you haven't finished. You predict failure so vividly that you talk yourself out of trying. You see all the angles, all the risks, and you paralyze yourself. This is analysis paralysis, and it is the luxury of the intelligent. The dumb person doesn't see the risk, so they jump, and often they land, or they crash, learn, and jump again. By the time you decide to move, they have already lapped you. So how do we break this? How do we deconstruct a lifetime of cognitive bad habits? We need a protocol. We need to shift you from a fragile knower to an anti-fragile learner. Step 1 is the death of the ego. You need to kill the part of you that needs to be the smartest person in the room. If you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. You need to actively seek out environments where you are the least competent person. You need to feel the burn of ignorance. You need to surround yourself with people who intimidate you, not intellectually, but operationally, people who get things done. You must embrace the concept of Shoshin, the Zen Buddhist concept of the beginner's mind. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. But in the expert's mind, there are few. You have to strip away your preconceptions. Stop assuming you know how the industry works. Stop assuming you know what the customer wants. Stop assuming you know how to lead. Assume you know nothing. Approach every day with the voracious curiosity of a child, not the cynical detachment of a critic. Step 2 is radical intellectual humility. This is not about low self-esteem. It is about high self-awareness. It is the ability to say, I could be wrong, and genuinely mean it. When was the last time you changed your mind on a fundamental belief because of new data? If you can't remember, you are stagnating. You need to aggressively hunt for disconfirming evidence. Stop reading articles that agree with you. Stop talking to friends who validate you. Go find the people who think you are wrong and listen to them. Not to debate them, but to understand what they see that you are missing. Step 3 is shifting from outcome visualization to process submission. Smart people love to visualize the end result, the award, the money, the recognition, but they hate the boredom of the process. You need to fall in love with the boredom, the repetition, the grind. The 10,000 hours aren't just a number, they are a lifestyle. You need to decouple your dopamine from the praise and recouple it to the effort. You need to learn to get a high from the struggle itself. You have to understand the difference between complications and complexity. You are addicted to complication because it makes you feel smart. You over-engineer solutions. Real genius is simplicity. It is the ability to cut through the noise and find the elegant, simple lever that moves the world. Stop trying to build a Rube Goldberg machine for your life. Do the simple things savagely well. Step 4 is the feedback loop. You are likely avoiding real feedback because it threatens your identity. You need to shorten the time between your action and the market's reaction. Put your work out there before it is perfect. Let people criticize it. Let it fail. The pain of that failure is the data you are missing. That pain is the map out of the wilderness. Let's look at the Stoics. Seneca said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." Your intelligence has made you soft. It has allowed you to avoid the difficulty of daring. You have built a fortress of logic to hide your fear of inadequacy. Tear it down. You have to realize that intelligence is just a multiplier. If your effort is 0, your total output is 0, no matter how high your IQ is. But if you can combine your natural processing speed with the humility of a student and the grit of a survivor, you become unstoppable. Imagine what you could do if you stopped trying to look smart and started trying to be effective. Imagine if you used that brain of yours to analyze your own weaknesses instead of everyone else's. Imagine if you channeled that mental energy into execution instead of simulation. The world doesn't need more critics. It doesn't need more people pointing out why things won't work. The world is desperate for problem solvers. It is starving for people who can take a punch and keep thinking. You are standing at a precipice. You can continue as you are bitter, cynical, undiscovered, and misunderstood. Telling yourself stories about how the world doesn't appreciate true genius, you can grow old with that chip on your shoulder. Becoming one of those insufferable people who talks about what they could have done if the timing had been right. Or you can wake up. You can admit that you don't know nearly as much as you think you do. You can step off the pedestal you built for yourself and get down in the mud with the rest of us. You can accept that being smart isn't a rank, it's a responsibility. It's a tool that requires maintenance, calibration, and hard labor to be useful. The choice is yours. But know this, the clock is ticking. Every second you spend protecting your ego is a second you are not building your legacy. The Dunning-Kruger effect is not a death sentence. It's a warning light on the dashboard. It's telling you that you are asleep at the wheel. So, turn the car around. Drive into the valley of despair. Embrace the confusion. Embrace the struggle. Because on the other side of that valley is not just smart. On the other side is wisdom. On the other side is mastery. On the other side is the version of you that actually lives up to the potential you have been bragging about for years. Stop thinking. Start doing. Get to work.